All right. So we'll get started in another couple of minutes here. Just waiting. Hopefully Bob will be joining us pretty soon.
Yes, indeed.
I think Bob is trying to find the link for the meeting. Let me try to send it to him.
But you know, the email you sent, I had to click the email to have bring the link up. It was kind of an odd situation. I don't know why.
The antivirus caught it up or something.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, just sent Bob the link. Yeah, sometimes they get converted to plain text or something like that. You get to
Yep, that's exactly what happened to me. So,
Was his link missing? It was like the missing link.
yeah.
You found it.
Careful, it's not the Pilltown man.
There's Steve. Hey, Steve. Welcome.
Hey, Steve.
All right. Jim, Rich, Lou.
Hello.
Hey, Steve.
Lou, your hair is phasing in and out.
Yeah. Well, my green screen is not perfectly clean, so it is what it is.
Yeah, what's in the background there?
Well, it's actually a tornado that's shrouded in dust.
Okay.
You'll just have to trust me on that. Almost as bad as a polar bear in a snowstorm, but not quite.
I thought it was the edge of the sun. You got little prominences or something there.
Yeah, no, it's you can sort of see the edge of the tornado here.
Oh yeah.
Sort of. Yeah, that day, that was, okay, I can't remember exactly which day, but it was this year. One was near Morton, Texas, and the other one was near, I think it's Whiteface, Texas. They're real close to each other. And both tornadoes were surveyed at 0.8 of a mile wide. As you can see, you're out there in the part of Texas that there is nothing for it to hit. So, the EF scale is rated on how much damage it does. So it's just nothing for it to damage. But, based on data they were able to get from other places, they were able to get a path width at least. So.
I didn't know that. So they're only rated on damage. They're not rated on wind speed or anything like that.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, and some of that's historical, but they haven't really gotten to the point that if they get a valid wind number from something else to use it, they've actually tried to do that and been giving grief about it. So they definitely do not do that because especially out there in the plains, you have these mobile Doppler units that are all over the place, So they can give you some really good speed estimates on these things, but a couple of times they tried to use those, the powers that be came down and said, nope, that's not what the EF scale is about. EF scale is about damage. So,
Interesting.
Well, I guess it's harder to measure the wind speed because they're smaller. Because like with hurricanes, they can use satellites or they can even fly a plane and like drop the little thingy into the eye.
yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. And there are projects out there where they actually have lots of vehicles and lots of equipment and everything else, and they try and surround the tornado and get really good measurements. And that's just real tricky because, you pick a storm, you say this one we think is going to drop a tornado, so let's deploy, and then it doesn't drop a tornado, or it moves in a different direction than what they expected, and it's just real hard to do. But they have had some radar units that have estimated, and this was back in 2013 actually, which is a real controversial year to begin with. But they had mobile Doppler units real close to a couple of tornadoes, and they estimated EF5 winds out of it, but they weren't allowed to use them. They tried, but they weren't allowed.
Wow.
In Skywarn training, which I did a little less than a year ago, that were very explicit that tornadoes were rated retrospectively by a damage survey, and they have some, I don't know whether to call them standards or templates, but they have tools for the damage survey that then goes into generating the EF rating.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that was standard Skywarn training.
Well, and
I'm no weather person.
it's absolutely correct. That's the way it's done. I actually do damage surveys. The Weather Service, if they're like last year on September 1st, when there were so many tornadoes that came out of what was left of Hurricane Ida, they didn't have enough people to do all the surveys, so I helped them out. Yeah, I mean, the EF scale is actually very explicit about what they call them DI for damage indicator. And a damage indicator might be a tree, it might be a single family house. Those are the damage indicators. And then DOD is degree of damage. And basically, when you go out there and rate things, you look at basically three things. Was it a tornado? Because sometimes the straight line winds can do damage equivalent to a lower end tornado. So you want to make sure it was a tornado. Second thing is what damage indicators you could find and what the degree of damage was on those damage indicators. And the degree of damage gives you a wind speed estimate. It actually gives you a range of wind speed estimates. And so like if a house gets blown away, but it was not constructed well, then you're gonna not go towards the lower end of the range and that kind of stuff. So it's actually, it's still a little subjective, but it's better than the old F scale. So still not perfect.
All right, maybe we should get the meeting started. So welcome. This is the August 2022 meeting of the Mid-Atlantic Amateur Radio Club. My name is Jeremy Carlo. I'm the club president. So as we normally do at the beginning of these meetings, we'll do a round of introductions. So we don't have too many people in the room tonight, so we'll just open it up to everyone. So give me your best pile up.
Rich KB3VZL.
Lou WX3I.
Ben 3, JIZ.
Jim, W3, JNF.
Brian.
K,
Go ahead, Steve.
Steve, K3FZT.
Ryan, A3BK.
And I see Ned there in the background. Oh, there he is.
He needs to unmute.
Yes, Ned's showing us around.
And
All right.
there he is. Okay. Oh, well, looks like Ned is
Oh.
freezing. Oh, there he is.
In the background, it was the approval to acknowledge that it's live streaming, and I couldn't take it off mute until I changed screens and said, okay, it's cool. I'm good with live streaming. This is Ned WQ3Z from actually another event, but it's in just west of Paoli. So I'm making the machine.
All right. Thanks, Ned.
All right.
And anyone joining us on YouTube, welcome as well, whether you're watching us live or whether you catch us on the recording later. Okay, so before we get started with the meeting, I do have two sad announcements. We have two longtime MARC members who became silent keys this month. On Sunday, August 14th, Ann Lytle, KA3EIW, passed away. And on Sunday, August 21st, Jim Biddle, W3DCL, who is a past board member, he passed away. So I'd like to ask everyone present if you'll join me in a moment of silence to remember Ann and to remember Jim.
Call from South PA. Call from South.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I never got to meet Ann. She hadn't been active recently, but I did know Jim. He had been becoming less active because of his health issues, but he was actually public relations chair when I first came on the board. I know he was a very regular participant in the nets and in the breakfasts, always had some very interesting stories to tell. So two longtime members certainly left their marks on the club, and they will be missed. All right, so moving on to club business. Let's start with the treasurer's report. Lou.
Okay, first thing, sorry about that phone ringing. That was unexpected, but it happens. Currently, we have $19,522.46 in the bank. The $350 second payment to the Kimberton has not yet been cashed. The check has not yet been cashed, which is partially my fault because I was late getting it in. But you know, it's they do have the check, and hopefully it'll get cashed soon. But yeah, $19,522.46. That includes Hamfest money, but we haven't paid all the bills yet. So I don't know if we want to give the tentative numbers, Jeremy, or
Yeah, I guess we can do that.
Okay.
Have we got the deposit back yet? The $500 deposit?
No, not yet. They're not real quick with that, so we'll see. But currently, with still some expenses outstanding, so it'll be a little bit less than this, but looks like we made $3,383 at the Hamfest, which it compared to recent years, that's actually really good. So I know there's been years in the past where they've made more, but recently it's been going down. So you know, I think weather helped us. I think you know, the price increase we did last year obviously helped. You know, last year there was some resistance to the price increase, but I think that may have lessened this year. All things considered, I think we probably should be happy with the results. The other thing that I usually give at this point is how many paid members we have. Now we're up to 81, but of course we have two recent people deceased, so we're back down to 79. The 81 includes two people who renewed at the Hamfest, including Miguel, who's been away for a number of years, and he's back. Miguel Ramirez, and also Andrew Pavlin. Yeah, they both renewed. Miguel K2 MPR and Andrew is KA2 DDO. I have not updated the spreadsheet yet, which I'll get to that shortly. But yeah, so a couple people renewed. which was a good thing. So again, we're still at 79 with the 2 deceased members, unfortunately.
Well, we still count them as members for the year.
Okay, all right, then we're at 81.
All right. Thank you very much, Lou. Yeah, glad that we got a couple people renewed. And I think Miguel is actually interested in becoming a net control station again, because he was one of our main net control guys back in 7-8 years ago, something like that. So he may be rejoining us. All right. Next up on the list, we have technical services. Dennis is away, so maybe I'll give a brief report for him. So our 2-meter linked system is up and running. So 147.06 and 145.13. They're linked, they're running. 06 is having a intermittent problem. So Dennis is still working on troubleshooting that. We're gradually making our way down the list. And it's looking like we may end up having to do a little bit of tower climbing in order to fully address this. But Dennis is on top of that. 445.675 is also linked to the 2-meter systems. Over at Darby, 147.36 is currently down, some sort of an issue that Dennis is investigating right now, so he has it on his bench. We also have the 220 repeater that we just ordered. I think that has now arrived at Dennis's place, so he'll be working on that. So hopefully 2 meters and 220 will be back on the air in the near future. And 444.050 is currently the only guy running at Darby right now. And thanks to the efforts of Steve, it's currently linked to Wires X via a node located at his house. So if you have a Fusion machine, get onto 444.050 and you can use Wires X capabilities. Steve, did you want to add anything on that?
No, not really. Dennis, before he went away, talked about scheduling up a trip to Darby in September, but we don't have a solid date yet. He has several different people who can go with him, but I've told him I'd be maximally flexible.
Okay, and I know he's planning a trip to Newtown Square, so I may join him on that one, depending on when that is. So that is.
Can I just add something else about the 444.050 machine? It's a Yaesu DR1X repeater, which is notorious for periodically locking up in transmit mode. And I can tell you that it did this past Sunday at about 4:30, well, somewhere between 4:15 and 4:45, give or take. When we were last there, we installed a mechanical timer on the power that cycles the power at 12:20 a.m. off and back on at 12:40 a.m. So if that machine is locked up, there's really nothing to do during the day. Shortly after midnight, it will recycle and be reset. I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but just in case you did, I wanted you to be aware of what's going on with it.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't have a timeout built in there. When you'd think after it transmits for 5 or 10 minutes, it would know to shut down.
It's Dennis has it running at reduced power. I nearly said half power, but I don't know that for a fact. I just know it is running at reduced power.
Well, I think it's running at 20 watts because it can nominally do up to 50 watts, but they're not rated for continuous duty at 50 watts.
Right.
Because I think on the inside, it's basically just two Yaesu mobiles sort of back to back. Which
That's
you
right.
would
It's
do 50, but
it's-
not at 100% duty cycle.
Yeah, it's basically the FTM 400 radio. Two
Yes,
of them.
I think they're running 20 watts, and then after some of the losses in the diplexers and the feed line, you're probably getting about a third to half of that. So maybe 7 to 10 watts, something like that at the antenna. All right, so that is repeaters. A little bit about nets. So we do our nets on Wednesday evenings and Sunday evenings, 8:30 p.m. And that's on 147.06, 145.13, and 445.675. We've actually had good turnout the last couple of weeks for the nets. We've had some great net control operators and a couple of new folks who've joined us on the team. So make sure to check into one of the nets if you're ever on air. Wednesday, Sunday, 8:30 p.m. The next MARC breakfast is going to be Saturday, September 10th. That's at the Country Squire Diner on Westchester Pike in Broomall. That'll be 9 a.m. Saturday, September 10th. I know that's always a great time. Did anyone want to say anything about the breakfast?
It's a great time. I'll say that. I love
Good
the
time, all right. Usually you get a pretty good turnout for those. It's been up and down a little bit. Sometimes a smaller group, sometimes a bigger group. So, you may be at a little table or it may be you and your 20 best friends. We don't really know who's going to be there.
This month it was the same date as the Hamfest setup.
Yeah. How is the turnout for that?
I couldn't make both events, so I chose the Hamfest setup.
Let's see. Came out to work. All right. We like that.
Mhm.
All right. So a couple of other upcoming events. The holiday party will be at Uno's Pizzeria in Newtown Square. That's also on Westchester Pike. That is scheduled for Saturday, December 3rd. So Dennis is organizing that. You'll be hearing a lot more from him in the coming months. Again, Saturday, December 3rd. That's a week earlier than usual because that it's a really nice room that we get there. It's in high demand. Other upcoming events. We will have a club station for the PA QSO party. That is the weekend of October 8 and 9, which is Saturday and Sunday. So we'll be at the Lower Providence Fire Department, which is our usual field day site. So I think it's going to be a lot like field day. It's going to be same antennas, same radios, maybe a little bit smaller, not quite as active, but I think we'll have a good time there. I guess one of the nice things about it is it does shut down for about 8 or 9 hours at night. So I think everyone will get to go to sleep that night. It won't be running all night long, but it runs Saturday afternoon and evening, and then quite a bit of the day on Sunday. So you'll be hearing a lot more about that. In fact, our September MARC meeting, which is the 4th Tuesday in September, I didn't write down the date, but it's like September 27th or something like that. We'll be talking about the PA QSO party. So you'll learn a whole bunch more about that and about our plans for October 8 and 9. So we will get public service. Bob, did you want to give us an update on public service? And we'll get to the Hamfest later. Bob, you're muted.
Yeah, my neighbor, that bang you might have heard was my neighbor setting off fireworks behind me somewhere. But anyway, yeah, we've got our next public service event is coming up, and that's going to be the Charles Bender Memorial Swim on the lovely Schuylkill River. And that takes place on Friday, September the 2nd. We'll get there at approximately 6 a.m. In the morning. And the event goes until approximately noontime, at which they typically, the French Creek Racing Group typically has a little picnic barbecue with lots of different things to eat. And we're all invited to that, whoever goes to it. And the address that I have, I've actually, they actually have like a little, I don't know, I want to call it a boat launch. Basically, it's just a little gap in the bushes along the Schuylkill River, and that's where this event actually takes place from. But the address that they give is 1400 South Trooper Road in Norristown. And that is actually a parking lot that's about 300 yards away from the river's edge. So I'll have more. I'll try to get a better address. It's kind of hard to pin down. I guess unless you had actual GPS coordinates, but if you parked in the lot, you'd be close. But it's actually a little. There's a road that goes along the river, and that takes you to the boat launch. So anyway, looking for people to help out with that event. I know it's an early morning one. It's probably one of our most early events, but it's not too far away, and it ends at noontime. Pretty much, right on time, and you get a free lunch on top of it. And also, this is kind of, I guess, part of the Hamfest thing, but I just want to, I don't know if Andrew is Andrew in the on the meeting, on the Zoom meeting tonight,
Just
aka
came in.
2DDO.
He
What's
just
that?
came in.
Oh, he just came in?
Yeah.
Okay, Andrew. Well, I've got your mast base that you used at field day, and I'm holding it hostage, unfortunately. No, I'm only kidding. Give me a call, and I will be glad to set up a time where I can pass it off to you.
Thank you so much for getting it for me. I still don't believe I was so zonked out. I drove off and forgot to pick it up after I got the car off of it.
Do you have something to write with and write on? I'll give you my phone number.
Maybe put it in the chat so we don't put it out on the.
I use my iPhone for this. I don't know how to do the chat thing, so.
Okay, I'll type it out.
Okay. So basically, that's our next event. Of course, the one event after that will be the 5 Mile Radnor Run, and that takes place at the end of October. And then, of course, the Vietnam Veterans 5K Run, which is in November, and we'll get dates and more information on that as soon as we can. Hopefully, we'll have it for the Sunday night net, perhaps, or maybe tomorrow night's net if I'm lucky. So anyway, we've got a couple more public service events this season. And also don't forget about the MS 150. Unfortunately, I can't find the date for that. Maybe Lou knows it. I know it's around here somewhere, but it's in September. I think it's like the 24th or 5th or something like that.
23rd, it's the 24th for sure. It's 24th, 25th.
It's the 24th and the 25th of September.
Yeah.
And they still need about 20 more people. So if anybody's available to help, I don't know. Do you have the information, Bob? I can send it out if people don't have the information. But yeah, they really could use the help. It's I'll give you more information if that's okay, Bob.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. It's a 2-day event. You don't have to do both days. You could do just one day. It starts around Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and goes all the way down to Ocean City, New Jersey, along a winding route. So, because of the winding route and some of the areas, the Pine Barrens and everything else that it goes into, they look for a lot of help for people to man the route. Probably all the vehicle assignments have already been taken by people who signed up sooner, but yeah. So 24th and 25th. Contact Bob or contact me if you want to sign up, and we'll get you the information. While I have the mic here, I do want to back up and about the September 2nd, the Bender Memorial. The road that it's on is called Riverview Boulevard. If you look at it on Google Maps, you'll see right along the Schuylkill River, there's a road called Riverview Boulevard. I can't give you an address because, as Bob said, it's just a break in the trees. But yeah, if you get onto Riverview Boulevard and just drive along till you see a bunch of cars, you should be fine.
What did you say those dates were, Lou?
September 24th and 25th.
Thank you.
So anyway, that's pretty much it for public service.
All right, thanks, Bob. Great job. Yeah, hopefully I can help out with the Bender swim this year. I'm actually not teaching on Friday mornings, so I might have some free time. Yeah, so once you have the information for the Bender swim, since that's next Friday, we should get that out to the membership. Dennis is away right now, so we can't get it on the website, but if you send me the information, I can email it out, or you could also email it out to the Google group. And as far as the other two events, we'll try to get those on the website once Dennis is back. So once you have the information for that. I guess we should know exactly where the muster position is for 6 a.m. Will it be that parking lot on Trooper Road, or are we going to go further toward the river to meet?
It's generally easier if we meet on Riverview Boulevard.
Okay, so right at the boat launch.
That's where we're going to meet the event organizer and kind of get any last details, and then we can find a place to. There's a couple of places that in past years we've used as observation points, and generally we'll spread out along the river. The trouble is with the Schuylkill River, it's hard to get access to the river's edge where you can see something, because a lot of it's private property actually, and so we have to get all the clearances and all the instructions from the John Kenny, who's the organizer of the event. So if we meet along Riverview Boulevard, that's typically the best place.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right, sounds good. All right, so I think I've gotten through my list of every committee. Does anyone else have anything else for the business portion of the meeting? Going once, going twice. All right. So now we get to the main part of tonight's meeting, and that's to talk about the Ham Fest. So we did have the Ham Fest back on Sunday, August 14th. And as you heard from Lou, financially, we did pretty well. So what I wanted to do tonight was to have a little discussion, hopefully. Hopefully, me and Bob won't be talking the whole time. It'll be more of a discussion going back and forth. Talk about what went right, what could have been done better, what could have been done differently, and some ideas for next year. I see Ned has his hand up.
Yeah, first off, can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I just want to provide some super positive feedback. I checked in the RF Hill traffic net Sunday night of the net, and I mentioned that I was tired because I'd been at the Ham Fest, and like 12 of the next 18 check-ins said they'd been there and how great a Ham Fest it was, and how they hope their Ham Fest in October is half as good. And talking with Bob later, it's like, I guess they didn't see the blemishes, but all in all, very, very positive feedback. So everybody can be very proud of that and consider this a round of applause.
All right. Thanks, Ned. Yeah, I know several of the other clubs. I know there's been a lot of discussion on the Marple Newtown Nets and the Philmont Nets. They were very happy with how the Hamfest went. I think everything went about as smoothly as it could have gone. I think all the speed bumps along the way, we got over them without too much of a problem. But I know Bob was pulling his hair out for the last week or two before the Hamfest, because there were a whole bunch of things that just kind of fell into place at the last moment. The food vendor and a couple of other things, we were really getting down to the wire. So I guess the purpose today is we'll talk about maybe even begin a little bit of planning for next year. So I guess the first question is, do we want to stick with the August date? Because I know the August was what we originally did years ago, but more recently we were into July. I mean, I think ultimately Kimberton kind of holds the key there because they decide what dates are available. But should we go for a mid-August? And if so, do we want to stick with the Sunday date?
I talked to a couple of the tailgate vendors, and they seem to like July and Saturday better. But important thing to them was that we have it on the same weekend as another club has their Hamfest. And that's feedback I've gotten, not just this year, but in previous years.
Yeah, it probably makes things a little easier for them if they can do one and then do the other. So yeah, mid-July usually means we get the same week as Sussex. I don't think there's much of anything in August. So, my thinking is that it sort of cuts both ways, is that the vendors want something that's the same weekend as another Hamfest. But in terms of buyers, we might be better having it, kind of on an isolated weekend. So I guess we have to pick our poison there.
Yeah, I have never been at one that was in August until this one. It went really well. The weather cooperated. Actually a lot better than our recent July one. So, from a weather perspective, I think it's a good time. Saturday, Sunday is sort of a toss-up. Saturday's a little bit harder because of setup, but I mean, for this time, doing it on Sunday and being able to do a setup, that was really good. So, we didn't have to like squeeze the setup in later in the day after people were done work. So
Saturday setup made it easier for us, and it gave us a bigger pool to pull from as far as manpower.
Right. And it's hard to argue with the fact that these are the best numbers we've seen in recent years. So.
So maybe the plan will be we'll aim for like mid-August and maybe a Sunday and see if the fire department will play ball with us on that. And if we have to do something else, we have to do something else.
Okay. Now it's my understanding. Okay, go ahead, Bob. I see that you unmuted.
Okay, yeah. Well, I just wanted to I talked with Kim Souter, and she actually gave us a date for next year for 2023, and basically the same weekend, Saturday, August 12th for setup, and Sunday, August 13th for the Hamfest. I would imagine we could move it to a different weekend. I do know that the Reading Radio Club, at least this year, was on the first Saturday of the the first weekend in August, and so that's why we chose the second weekend in August. But in theory, we could probably move it to the third or the fourth weekend in August if we want to.
I suspect late August, a lot of people are on vacation and stuff, so it's going to be harder to find people. So the question might be whether we want to do the first or that second weekend. But if we have a date already penciled in, I think, I can't think of any reason why the 13th would be bad for us. I think that would work unless we had a really pressing reason why we'd want to do it earlier.
Yeah.
I
why
don't
not.
think you want to go any later than 12, 13 August. School goes back early. And so families are trying to get their vacations in. So I would make that kind of the not later than date. I don't know who else is having a ham fest on that weekend, but if that's the only date we can get, or that's the best date we can get from the fire department, I don't know of a better venue for us in the area.
Yeah, there is actually another ham fest on that weekend, but it's out in Pittsburgh. It's south of Pittsburgh. I can't quite remember what the name of the town it's in or the name of the ham fest, but Jeff Goldman and also KJI Electronics both were at that ham fest. It was on the ham fest. Their ham fest is on Saturday. Our ham fest was on Sunday. That's why Jeff was late, and KJI Electronics was late also. But I was there. I was there and talked to KJI Electronics before I closed the building up, and yeah, Jeff actually showed up before I closed up too. So there was actually another ham fest, which I didn't know. I didn't know that they would go that far, because it was about a 4.5 hour drive from the ham fest they were at, which finished up around noon, 1 o'clock on Saturday, and they did not arrive until like 7:30, 8:30, somewhere in there is when they arrived. So there was actually another ham fest that weekend. It's just that it was a long drive between them, and that was part of what Jeff's issue was he didn't really want the long drive. He would rather go from his house to Kimberton, I guess, is a shorter drive, I guess. I don't know exactly where he lives other than Maryland somewhere. And KJI, they're from New Jersey, actually. They're from like North Jersey. And so this is the first time they were at our ham fest for quite a long time. So, I think they were years ago, but this is the first time recently. But I don't know, it's like they came, so I don't know what else to do.
Well, can I make a comment?
Yeah.
That far away, 4.5 or 5 hour drive, we're not going to lose any tailgaters, and we're not going to lose any people that attend the ham fest. It's
Nope.
just so I'm up for it. So
Yeah, I think the overlap is pretty minimal.
right.
For what it's worth, and I never thought of vendors driving 4.5 hours, but the Pennsylvania statewide DMR net, and to a large degree had a lot of discussion about the Pittsburgh Hamfest, both before and after. That net meets Tuesday night at I want to say 8. Yeah, PA DMR net meets at 8 o'clock on Tuesday nights on Brandmeister Talk Group 3142 for anyone interested. And then Sunday night, there's a statewide Wires X Fusion group, and there was some conversation about the net that night. Their net meets at 8 o'clock, half hour before ours. So I usually pick that up and get in for one round and then come over to ours. So you can, maybe there's even reason to team up with the Western Pennsylvania Fest, Hamfest producers to recruit vendors to hit the one on Saturday, drive the 4.5 hours down the turnpike and hit us on Sunday. I don't know, but it's worth thinking about for a minute or two.
Do you think we can get the Turnpike Authority to give us a discount rate?
I doubt that.
We're more than likely to get people from New York and North Jersey than we are from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I mean, we get people from New York and North Jersey that come to our event. We get them going out towards Harrisburg, but we don't get people coming from Pittsburgh. I mean, it's like a different planet when it
Right.
comes to our.
I wouldn't think we would get visitors, but vendors who might come to one might come to the other. That's all I was thinking of.
Yeah,
I
and
wonder how they make
don't-
money with the gas prices the way they are, driving 4 hours.
Yeah, I don't think it would hurt to talk it up though, if when you get into July, the end of July, and first week of August, to talk it up on those nets. That wouldn't hurt. I'm sure there might be one person who's just so
hyped up.
bruised about Hamfest, they want to come to ours. So be worth it.
I think we do better to locate these small companies and invite them with an email or a phone call early on than see what we can do with that. Because we got a couple of people from Maryland, guy from Maryland who took a bunch of tables. He was flabbergasted. He thought it was a great thing. And then he went and he won a prize and he was beside himself.
Wow.
So he'll be back next year.
That's good. Yeah, because if you're reaching out to them for door prizes anyway, if they're local vendors, do you include something inviting them to attend if they'd like to?
Well, I give them a little brief history, like, it's like 47 years that we've been doing this. We cater to the southeastern Pennsylvania. If they would like to attend or if they would like to, donate, we appreciate it. Everything goes towards the benefit of the club. But I don't know how else we're going to get, these little vendors unless, they're advertising somewhere. I hit everybody in QST, CQ magazine, and just going off the internet doing quick searches. I hit close to 200 different suppliers. Half of them don't respond, which is normal. The bigger ones are the cheapest ones, and some of the little guys are the most generous. So there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Well, if you're getting a response rate of 50% on a cold call, that's incredible.
So
Rich the Bulldog, he gets on you.
actually,
He
I'm just
doesn't
very,
get-
I'm persistent, because if I don't hear from them once, I'll send a reminder. And I keep track of who I call and who responds. And then I send them a thank you afterwards. I have to get that going out. And, just try and keep it very professional with them. And regardless of whether they donate, $50 or $500, they get a thank you. I still think.
Yeah, I think the thank you.
I still think we ought to take and sell all the stuff on eBay and forget the Hamfest. Just pocket the money.
We can do that once, I think.
We give away more than we take in.
Yeah.
What it boils down to.
But also the Hamfest is not just about making money, it's also about goodwill toward
Oh, no, yeah.
community.
I don't think anybody has any complaints about, the operation that we run.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we could get some seminars or, something of note to attract more people, but, that's more work.
In previous years, we had demos. Chester County did what's that protocol that we used, the new one for messages, short messages on digital? Jeremy, you had it on your computer.
Oh, FT8?
Yeah, FT8, thank you. They did a demo on FT8. We could talk up things like that, see what they want to do.
Well, now the big thing is mesh network. They're all trying to get a mesh network up with within the counties, and that's what they were demoing. But it boils down to this: when the shit hits the fan, the more sophisticated the system, the less likelihood of it working,
and the less likely that people will use it. I mean, those systems are great for people who are, very active in one of the areas of units. But for, the dilettantes, shall we say, mug hams, they just don't have time for all that stuff.
If you're relying on the internet and the internet goes down, you've got problems. And if, you're relying on your car to supply power to your radio, you don't have a computer hookup. So, in the purest sense, we're, when all else fails, that's what we are basically. And the less sophisticated you keep it, the more you've got people able to work with it.
Well, yeah, that last point is what I was trying to say. Yeah. The problem you have is that most people nowadays can't imagine a world without the internet. Despite what they read about Puerto Rico, Haiti, Louisiana, and various parts of the South.
Until it hits them, yeah. Everyone remember the 2014 ice storm when it was very amusing that they were trying to tell people to get directions to the shelters on the internet. How are they supposed to get to the internet? They have no power in their homes.
Or even if they have power in their homes, when I was in Maryland, I had my own generator for my house, but if there was a general power outage, the feed to the ISP wasn't up. So while my computer was working, it was not connected to the internet because the connection to the internet was down.
Yeah.
So-
although the people who needed the shelters then were the people who didn't have a generator to keep power in their houses.
So there's maybe a bit of a misconception here, because the Arden Mesh Network does not use the internet. It is independent of the internet. It is an RF only at 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz in amateur radio bands network.
It can and often does gateway to the internet though, but yeah, it is intended to run without access to the internet. That's the whole idea, is you can set this up and you can support people even if your infrastructure is down. We can still do basically what everybody's used to.
Yeah, that's the way Chester County uses their Wi-Fi backhaul during the Limerick drill and whatnot. It's running completely off local power, except maybe the building at the township building where we're plugging in our laptop, but all the other stuff is running off like car batteries.
All right, well, we're getting a little bit off track here. So is there something that we could do for the Ham Fest? If maybe C-Car or another group might be interested in doing some demos? That might be worth thinking about it.
I tried, but my mast wasn't tall enough. I don't know how many of you wandered by where I tried to have my ARADN mesh pots dish up on the roof, and it was like 3 feet short of the roof line of the roof, so I couldn't get over it to get the line of sight to Eagleville.
Well, the bottom line is we need somebody to take the bull by the horns, go out there and make arrangements to have these seminars and demos. We need more manpower. I mean, we're stretched a little thin as it is. The people that sign up, a lot of them sign up at the last minute. The core group that, is doing the work throughout the year is very limited. So, yeah, we can do more, but we need more people to step up and, take care of the challenge.
And just a suggestion for Andrew, maybe if you took a table on the other side of the building and then we're able to, set up, that's my neighbors again. I don't know if you heard that. Set up on the other side of the building, maybe you'd be able to get into Eagleville from there.
Probably not, because probably not because of the next building's roof.
Yeah,
I
so I
still
was
have to
thinking
clear
maybe
that
the
too.
barn's there, but
The only way I'd be able to work is if I had like the corner spot where you had the MARC club table where I could get clear of the buildings.
mhm.
So I'm just gonna need to get a taller mast, that's all. I've already been shopping around for a 30-foot mast to replace the 20-footer.
Well, I have a tripod and a 30-foot mast. Be happy to haul it out next year.
Yeah, I
That'd be
think like we if you want to use something like that, I think we could probably like maybe set that up on the setup day and use some parking spaces for that, normally the people who are indoor vendors use along the building there. I don't have any problem with, using the parking space, because you'd probably want to guy something like that. If it gets real tall, you're going to have to start using guy ropes or something. So, that's just something to think about. You can come out and set the antenna and the mast and all that stuff up, and then, the next day, just come in and set your equipment up. That's another option, I guess. But, the people who are inside the building don't necessarily have to park on the edge of the building. I mean, it's convenient for them, but we now have a huge, big paved parking area that really, kind of went underutilized. It's used for handicap parking. We used it for this year, and the food vendor. But as the thing is huge, and there's no reason that indoor vendors couldn't park there after they dropped all their stuff off. I don't see why that would be a problem. Be a problem for them maybe, but it's not that big of a problem. So
Couple of no parking signs will take care of that.
yeah,
And actually, that does remind me, now, was it intentional that we had the flea market parking closer to the building this year, or was that just sort of accidental or what? It was a little tight right by the building with the,
No, it was actually way too tight, and basically our tailgate parking area kind of resembled what happens when a bomb goes off. It was due to a lack of manpower. We need to have someone. Actually, ideally, we need to have 3 people out parking tailgaters and telling them where to park. Otherwise, you'll get what we got this year. We even had people who had parked in the tailgate area who were not tailgaters. Don't ask me how I know this, but it happened. There were people who were not tailgaters, and they were parked in a tailgate area parking spot, taking up, precious space next to the building. And so, we really need to have people out there, parking the tailgaters in, because unfortunately, you just can't, if you're coming from out of town and you're not used to seeing the blue lines on the grass, nobody knows that they're there really, so until somebody points them out to them, out to the tailgate.
I guess my point was, Bob, that the blue lines seem closer to the building this year.
They may have been, but I don't know. I don't know if they actually were or not. We kind of paced it off. We didn't actually measure. So
that did seem a little tight, because I pulled in and it was tight, and then I looked and there were blue lines pretty close to where I was parked. So I just, if it was just, that kind of thing, then it was just, you paced it off and something happened and it got closer. That's fine. I was just wondering if there was a reason for that, or if it was
well,
just,
the other issue with the why it looks like it's tapered is because it is. We typically start from the road, and the road is much straighter. I feel anyway. And if you go bring a line parallel to the road down close to the building, you're going to get a tapered area. In other words, it tapers towards the front of the building, where the bathrooms are. And then as you get further away from the bathrooms, it tends to open up, because the property is not square. It's odd shaped or rhombic shaped or whatever shape you want to call it, but it's not square. But yeah, I think the biggest problem was the fact that the tailgaters were not supervised, and that's why the lines got totally blurred. And the other issue might also be why it seems so tight and it actually became impassable to vehicles, is because there were cars parked all along the building, even near the bathrooms. And I think in previous years, I don't think the cars were parked all along there. Maybe they were, but it seemed to me we stopped parking cars like at the last, maybe 50 feet of the building or something. Just because it would get too tight. But people were all parked in there. They were parked in front of the food vendor, and they probabshouldn't have been parked there either. But once again, you got to have supervision of the tailgate field if you want to avoid all that.
I have 2 comments on that. Number one is Andy and I were out the front. We were there like 6:30 a.m. line of cars already coming in. I mean, I called out a number of times on the simplex frequency saying we need help out there, and nobody responded because nobody was listening. So we need to make sure that we have somebody listening on the on-site frequency. About every 5 minutes or so, I put a call out saying we need somebody on the tailgate field, and nobody replied to me.
One of the things I noticed was there was no one person always on duty to coordinate that kind of stuff in the building. Bob had, this is not a criticism, Bob, but you were torn 9 ways from Sunday trying to do all the things you were trying to do. But several times, we needed answers on, where people set up, where's this, that, or the other thing. Promises have been made and we try to coordinate it, but we didn't have the details. And you were sometimes hard to find because you were doing important stuff.
So you
Again,
volunteer.
it goes back to Rich's comment that we need more people, okay? And we need to plan, who's going to do what and who's going to be, as Jeremy said, manning the simplex frequency or whatever we choose to be the internal order wire for the day.
It seems to me that some of the person power can have some substitution with signage. Let me be very clear. I'm guilty. I wasn't a tailgater. I backed up to the barn, to the building, unloaded my box, and I never moved my car. If I'd known that there was hard surface parking the other side of the building, for me with a bum ankle, you may have seen me with my ankle brace and so forth, I would have moved the car. You need some signs. Maybe we need a trip 6 weeks before to lay out the space to figure out what we need and get signs made. Vistaprint makes these signs like the ones you see for the politicians in the front yard. You can get plain lettered signs that are reusable for $7 a sign. And, if we set up a standard way, we could have signs.
Okay, and I guess we're back to my point, which was, I parked where I normally park because I like to have, since I'm handling the money and everything, I like to have my car real close. So I don't have to be walking around with the money very far. And I parked generally where I always park, right up against the building. And it seemed like the blue lines were closer to the building than they have been in previous years. Okay. People parking next to the building is a common thing. So I don't know if maybe I was further down the building than I usually do. As Bob said, it does angle a little bit. So maybe I was in the wrong spot, a different spot than I usually am, but those blue lines seemed awful close to where I was parked. And I don't remember seeing that in previous years. And maybe it's me, maybe I just don't remember, but and if you started at the driveway and go in, it should be the same. I've seen your system, Bob, and it seemed to work really well. So, maybe it was just me. Maybe I did park at a different place.
Would it make more sense for us to start at the building and work outwards?
Yes, that would solve the problem right there. And in previous years, that is the handicap parking area up against the building. And we never were that tight. Not that I was there this year, but your point is well taken, Jeremy. Just start at the building and leave enough space and then go the other way.
And then you have the vendors parallel to the edge of the building. And then if there's like a little no man's land by the road, that's fine.
Right.
I
Well-
did notice that a lot of the tailgaters towards the building had tables out, and they weren't just tight to the back end. Some of them had 3 and 4 tables spread out.
Oh,
So
that's
that eats up space too.
Well, if they're going to be taking that much space, they ought to be paying for more than one space.
right.
Right. Yeah. The those blue spots, blue line spots, which are actually ample for them to put a car and a table in. They need to keep the table in the spot theoretically. You know, I mean, that's sort of always been an issue that some people sort of push the boundaries that are there. But you know, your spot is the blue line. You shouldn't go across it, basically.
There were people that had like 4 or 5 tables out. I'm sure they only paid for one spot.
Well, yeah, because they
Well-
come in, they say they're a vendor, you buy one spot, and then they take up 3 spaces. We had no way of, but if we positioned them and we did the fill-in on a first come, first served basis, that would
Exactly.
tend to limit it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe we need to be real clear about those spots right next to the building, because once you get in the area, it's pretty obvious that, you know, where the aisles are and how much space is available and that kind of stuff. But basically right there by the building, maybe it's not as obvious. Maybe we need to make it more obvious. But anyway, yeah, I mean, if we, you know, it would be good to have a coordinator for the operations that are out in the parking lot. I think that's a great idea. I don't know if Brian wants to volunteer for that or what, but basically, yeah, that's great. I make up 6 belts. I mean, if we're going to have 3 people at the tailgate, 2 people at the front, 1 in the back, that's all well. And then basically the coordinator inside the building also has a money belt. So, you know, that would be 7 belts. I mean, is that what we're talking about? Increasing the number of belts we make up?
We may not increase.
No, we have enough belts. Don't worry.
All right.
But what Brian's point was getting me to thinking is that maybe we need to have, I don't know the best title, but like a house master, right? Somebody who sort of runs the operations inside the building, who coordinates with the indoor vendors, who makes sure that the frequencies are monitored, make sure that the club table is staffed. That might be a job that we could sort of spin off from the Hamfest chair. Because Bob, I know
Well-
you're really busy early on, you know, dealing with the indoor vendors.
Well, typically, that's the job of the Hamfest chairman, is to be on the inside, to give indoor vendors, sit them in their spots, and eventually come around and collect money, you know, for their table spots. This is my interpretation or impression of what the Hamfest chairman did. This is typically what Mike Pilati used to do. He used to stay inside and in the early morning and put people in their spots on the tables and keep track of everything on the outside, you know, by radio. And you know, I feel that I should have been doing that, you know, a little bit, you know, been there more full time to do that. However, you know, we had a complete failure of all of the speakers along the outside of the building. And we're trying to give away $5,000 worth of Hamfest door prizes. And we can't get that information out to the tailgate area. That just doesn't work for me. I don't know. So that's why we had to work on the sound system to try to get whatever we had. We had those 4 speakers. We had to get those hooked up. And unfortunately, we didn't find out about the total failure of the sound system outside until late on Saturday night. And I was too tired to do it and nobody else was there. And so unfortunately, I wanted to go home and get to bed so I could get up at 6 or be there at 6. I couldn't do both. Stay there until 10 or 11 o'clock at night trying to get the speakers set up. And not to mention the fact that we're not supposed to use the PA system probably after 8 or 9 o'clock at night anyway. So anyway, this was an unusual year in that respect. You know, had the speakers worked and had they been set up previously to the day of the Ham Fest, then I would have been able to be inside and I would have been able to, you know, do more of what I was supposed to be doing instead of trying to run around, you know, to make those work. And as to the parking along the building, you know, for Lou and Steve, typically, you know, the MARC members who are working at the Ham Fest get to park along the building if they want to, especially for Lou because of the money issue. You know, he needs to have his car right there. And Steve, you know, if you had a issue with your leg or foot, I guess it was, you know, there's no reason why you couldn't park along the building. What I was addressing was people who were parking in the tailgate spaces. I know that there was people in the tailgate spaces who were either in you know, they were not tailgaters, or they were people who were from inside, you know, indoor vendors that were parked in tailgater space spots. It was, you know, the tailgate area was just a total mess, and we need, you know, more people. We need manpower to work the tailgate area, you know, at least until you get like the first two rows. You know, once you get the first two rows, the rest of it, you know, kind of works a little better. You only need, you know, one or two people to do the outer two rows. The other issue too is if we did start from the building, what happens is you get out by the road and the tailgate spaces, you know, there's no place for the tailgate to occur. There's no place for people to walk. And so that's why we started to go off the road, off the driveway instead of off the building. Now, maybe we should measure more carefully. Maybe we should get, you know, some better way of measuring our rows. You know, that's a possibility. But I know it worked. It worked very well last year in 2021. There was no issues last year of being too close to the building or having cars all jammed up. You know, people could drive from one end to the other along the building, and, you know, to get in or get out or pick something up, you know, pick up a heavy item with their car. And so, you know, it's I see that, you know, it was just a lack of manpower for the tailgate area. And you know, I don't see why, you know, if we had the manpower, we could have gotten it done. You know, we had two people inside working on the sound system, and, you know, at least one of those people could have been outside if the sound system wasn't fouled up. And, you know, that would have made a big difference, even if you only have one person in the tailgate spot. I mean, I remember, you know, several years that I was the only one out there in the tailgate spot, and, you know, we got the rows, you know, halfway neat. So it doesn't take a lot to get the tailgate space in order, but it you know, it takes somebody out there. So
Can I just say something, Bob? Under your tutelage the last couple of years, I was out in the tailgate section helping you. I'd be glad to take that on as a responsibility. You know, the tailgate area. That would free
Sure.
you up inside and stuff. I think part of the purpose of this meeting is to get you help. I mean, I'd be willing to volunteer for that or put my name in the hat to get the tailgate section, because I can yell if I need to. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's actually ideal to have, you know, 3 people out
Right.
there, but even if there's just one person, it would make a big difference.
Right. Okay.
And that position comes with the MARC taser. You can use that.
There you go.
I think Ned's been waiting to say something. Did you want to say anything, Ned?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Jeremy, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I have to get off, but a couple of things as I've been listening to this, one of which is we published that we don't take sellers until 7 o'clock. What I think we ought to do is have the ticket sellers out in position, and we don't let people onto the field until the parking crew is in place and ready to position sellers. If that happens,
It's going to happen though.
no. If it happens before 7 o'clock, we tell people, hold on, it's before 7 o'clock. We're getting our parking crew in place. Once the parking crew is in place.
Where are they going to go though?
I mean, if we don't have our parking crew in place, we probably don't have our gate crew in place, and they
Right.
probably living in.
Well,
So-
what we do with the idea, we can discuss, but that's the one idea. The second idea is the problem with the people taking multiple spaces. I think we say it's $8 for the first slot. And then after that, $5 a slot. And the ticket sellers say, look, it's $8 a slot. If you want two slots, it's only $10 more. We've gotten an extra $2 out of them. And if they take 3, we come by and say, guess what? You owe us $5 more. And by the way, if anybody buys 3 slots, give them 3 vendor tickets. That way we know they've paid for the 3 slots. Let's face it, doesn't cost us anything in the vendor prize if there's 150 versus 100 tickets in that bucket. That's my suggestions.
Yeah, I actually agree with that, Ned. In fact, I think we used to try and do that, but we should make.
We used it was like $6 a slot, $5 per slot, and by doing that, we get back to the rounding to $5, which makes it a whole lot easier. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great idea, and we need to update the flyer that says,
Oh, and the other thing is
spots.
at the tail end, I think we put on the flyer grand prize pulled at noon. And that way people will start clearing out at 12:30. And maybe we put on there that in deference to the fire company, everybody has to be packed up at 1 or something like that. Because, I've only been dealing with 40 years, the people who just refuse to go home. So, let's put on the flyer you got to get yourself off the property by time. So that's, my comment is to say, I've got to get off to something else, but I do thank Bob and everybody else. To the outside world, it looked like a great job. And, the speakers going down, something like that is going to happen, but I think we recovered really well. So back to you, Jeremy.
All right. Thanks, Ned. Yeah, as far as the people arriving early, I think they're going to arrive early no matter what, and there's nothing we can do. They're going to back up into the road, out into the main street, and then we get in trouble with the fire department, or they drive off someplace else and they get pissed off about it. So I think if they show up at 6:30, we get their tickets at 6:30. And I don't think there's any way around that.
And I agree with that. There's no way.
Yeah.
It'd be like a herd of cattle trampling you down.
Yeah, because
Yep.
I set up the tent outside about 6:20, and by then Andy was already taking money from people.
Right.
And I think Ned was already at the back gate. People were already starting to show up. So no matter what, they're going to show up when they show up.
Yeah, and maybe we could try and set up some cones or something. I mean, I have a handful of cones in my car. We could probably get more cones somewhere that basically sort of delineate before we start, delineate where we want people to park. I mean, that might help.
Yeah. Yeah, that might help. Yeah.
Looking for those blue lines is a little difficult. I mean, they're actually better than, I forget what color you used before, but for my color blind,
Fluorescent orange.
yeah, the orange was really bad for my color blindness. The blue's better. I can see those. So I do appreciate that we're using blue now, but yeah, even so, people aren't going to look for those lines, but they sort of understand what cones mean.
So put cones like at the edges to delineate where each line is.
Yeah, and we, I mean, if we want to put the cones out and just leave them there, that's that we could do, or if we just want to put them out and then once we get people started, we can, take them down. They're just there. It's because there's no way we can guarantee we're there first. No matter what we do, we can't guarantee that somebody's not going to pull in before we get there. So,
Yeah, if we just had 6 cones and you could put, one like in the middle of the on the very ends, both ends, you put, 3 cones, one on one corner, one in the middle, and then one on the other corner. And then, that would tend to make it look better. And then once the first section fills up, we just move all the cones to, move them to the next section. You wouldn't need to get a whole lot of cones out there.
Well, if we have enough cones, I would just set them all up because otherwise that becomes a job for somebody to have to move the cones and that. And as far as the multiple tailgate spaces, I mean, that could be the job for the tailgate parking attendant. If you see anyone taking 2 spaces, you go say hello to them and collect the additional money.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
but I just think we need that on the flyer that says, additional
Yeah,
tailgate spaces
Yeah.
or is it additional?
$8 covers 1 space.
well, it's kind of says that. It says tailgate space, $8, car width space, head-in parking. Maybe we should clarify that somehow, but to me that's clear. You get 1 space for $8. If you want 2 spaces, it's $16. If you want 3 spaces, it's $24. I was under the impression that the people at the front gate were collecting, that kind of money. In fact, I went around and collected for all the vendors that were there from overnight, and that's what I was collecting. I was collecting each space was $8. So like, Jeffrey had I don't know, I think he might have had six spaces or something like that, and plus admission. So it was what, 58 bucks or something for him. That's the price of the tailgate space is $8. 1 space is $8. And so that means at the front gate, if somebody wants 3 spaces, they get 3 tailgate tickets and
Right.
1 admission ticket.
Right. The
Maybe we could just add to the flyer, just say additional tailgate spaces available for purchase or something like that.
well, Jeremy, I think if we put it,
$8 per slot,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
Well-
per slot, yeah.
I think if we put 1,000 words in there defining what it is, people are still going to abuse it.
oh, well, absolutely. But
So-
at least they can't say that the flyer didn't say that,
Yeah,
Yeah,
if it's in writing, you can go right there, it is.
But the thing is, these guys have been to Hamfest probably many, many times, most of them, and they know that it's per space. It's just that they're apparently abusing it. So
Yeah.
that's why we
Okay.
need a captain out in the parking
Yeah,
lot.
you need an attendant out there to park the people in and check their tickets. If they have 2 spaces, show your 2 tickets.
Correct.
That's all.
Yep.
And something else with the tailgate parking. I was talking to some other club members, and some think that the tailgate space, the fee for the tailgate space, we should reduce the price, like maybe $5 just for any space, and no discount for if somebody wants 5 spaces, and that's $25. If somebody wants 1 space, then it's $5, kind of thing. Just to encourage tailgaters. Tailgaters don't don't always sell stuff that they bring. And, I think, that seemed the person had a valid point. I think just something to kick around. I think, we charge for 10, $2 more. You could have an indoor table supplied for you and a space inside. So, that's kind of like the tailgate space is like pretty expensive by comparison. So I don't know, just something to kick around. It would affect our bottom line, but
What did we used to charge before we increased it? I don't remember.
I don't know. It's probably like maybe $6 or something.
Yeah, from having done this outside, having to make change was a pain.
Yeah.
If we could avoid that, especially at the peak hours where the traffic is starting to back up, having to sit there and hand back $2 to everybody.
Yeah, that's why $5 would be good,
Well, $10 would be good too.
Yeah, $10 would be good too, yeah.
But then we'd have to increase the price of the indoor spots, or everybody would want an indoor spot,
Well, I mean, if I was a tailgater and I'm coming in my car, I would want an outside space so I don't have to carry all my crap inside.
True.
So I don't know that the inside is a benefit unless it's raining. That's just my opinion, obviously.
That's true, yeah.
But if everything's the same price and it's raining, everybody's going to demand to come inside.
Again, I agree with that. So $10 outside, 15 inside.
And if it rains, 25 inside.
25.
Well,
And Rich, how many tailgaters did we have this year? Do you have those numbers?
I'll give you that in a minute. Back in 19, it was $6 admission, $6 for a head-in parking space. Indoor, $6 admission, $10 for 1 to 4 tables. And let's see here. Come on.
The 21 was the same prices as this year.
Yes.
Right.
Well, Bob, how many tailgate spaces do we line out? Okay.
I really don't know.
Oh, and by the way, Rich, I was doing something else and I looked up when you had left your computer, and you had those legs hanging behind you, and they scared me for a second.
We have a guest here, and she did her laundry this afternoon while I was out. And when I came down after dinner, I found them.
Okay, yeah, but I saw those and I was like, wait a minute, did Rich do something? What's going on? Let's get ready to call 911,
Yeah, I think this seems to me that we have approximately 100 spaces. But I'd have to get the moving rope out and count the spaces on the moving rope. So.
All right, so if that's the case and we fill up the tailgate area, going from 8 to 5 means we're going to be at $300 less.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. Now, didn't last year we also stripe some of the field, Bob, for overflow?
Yeah, we did.
Right.
We were hoping that there was enough pent up demand to have an overflow, but that didn't quite materialize.
Right.
We did about 7/8 of the 7/8 of the tailgate field was full, and it seemed like this year maybe only 2/3 was full.
Okay.
We didn't even really part of the problem was there were so many holes in the rows, and it was harder to judge, but it looked to me like maybe about 2/3 of what the tailgate field could have held,
Okay.
We had 47 yellow tailgate tickets deposited in the tumbler. So I don't know how many we actually sold, because I would imagine not everybody put their ticket in, but 47 tickets ended up in the tumbler that were tailgaters.
So, if we drop the price by $3, that's 150, let's say it rounded up to 50, $150. Yeah.
But
Well-
are we gonna get any benefit out of that? Other than dropping the price? Are we gonna get more people coming because it's less money?
Yeah, that's certainly possible. So
Well, yeah, that's the idea, but I
might
don't
make
know.
up
if
the
it works.
difference. Yeah.
But we'd have to get 30 more tailgate vendors to make up the difference.
And that's not gonna happen because the people that are selling stuff are gonna sell stuff. And the people that aren't gonna come are not gonna be swayed by $2 or $3 off the price of the ticket.
Yeah, if you're driving 50 or 100 miles anyway, $3 is a rounding error.
Yeah. I'm not against this. I'm just pointing out, being devil's advocate here for
Yeah.
lowering the price.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I get
I
it.
appreciate that, but I mean, I'm just trying to decide if, it makes financial sense. That's, I guess, the treasurer coming out in me,
Mhm.
I mean,
Well-
if we're gonna take money off the table, is that gonna help or hurt, So-
Well, I don't think it's gonna help. The only good part about rounding it off to a 5 or a 10 is it makes it easier and quicker to sell the tickets. But you're not gonna increase your sales, so to speak, with more tailgaters. I can almost guarantee that in my mind.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is then we basically call that a reduction in the amount of money we're gonna pull in, basically.
Right,
Okay.
but why would we want to reduce the amount of money we're pulling in when we're gonna have the tailgaters that are coming they're gonna be there no matter what. They're not gonna not come if, the price is $2 too high.
Our
I'm sorry,
expense to
do you want to make the
site-
tailgate, the tailgate space the same as the indoor table?
Well, that kind of defeats the purpose of, if it's raining, everybody's gonna be inside type thing.
Yeah.
As somebody mentioned.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
I think you need a differential price structure
Yes.
for,
yeah, oh, I agree
Yeah,
with you.
I agree.
That's sort of the point that I'm
And-
trying to make, which
and how big a problem is,
I'm thinking of it.
can I get a word in? How big a problem is returning two singles if a guy gives you a $10 bill?
It's 5 seconds fishing in your pocket, but you've got a line of traffic out to the end. So 5 seconds on this guy, 5 seconds on the next
Trouble
guy,
connecting to the internet.
5 seconds after that.
Wi-Fi network.
And it's a lot of $20 bills because that's what the ATMs give. So you got to handle 2 ones and a 10.
Okay, well, bottom line is Kimberton Fire Company doesn't care how much we charge. They're still charging us a lot of money and we're not getting the discount we used to get.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
So yeah, going into this meeting, I was going to suggest that we just make it $10 for the tailgaters. But I think a lot of that's going to depend on what Kimberton is charging us. So Bob, did you get any sense from them whether the same financial deal would be in place for next year? Or whether we'll be paying more or less?
Well, there's a possibility that we could pay less because what was mentioned only once, but it was still mentioned was that they were wondering if we would be available to help them with their fare to once again collect parking donations. So, and in exchange for a reduced rate of some type. So, that's something for the next year's Hamfest. So it's possible that, we could, could reduce our rate if, we got enough off from the parking donation help or whatever. I don't know. Or if we just, kept the prices the way they were, and then that would automatically give us a boost in the net profits then.
What they charge us
If
this
you're
year,
gonna raise the if the real issue is the $2 change takes up so much time that you get an enormous back load, okay, and you can't somehow, you know, pre-stack the money so that it's easy to hand out $2 at a time, then I would say go with $10 outside and $12 inside. Because you're not getting as many people inside, so the backup issue isn't as big a deal. And you still then have the price differential, which I think is essential to keep.
Does inside have to be more though? Because I think people are going to choose based on things other than $2.
Inside has to be more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
think
inside
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 is
has
more.
to be more,
And
and
if
I
it's
think,
raining-
and I think $2 is not enough.
It should be.
You know,
15.
people who are coming to sell, there are a few small timers, we hobbyists who've got a few boxes of junk we're trying to unload. But a lot of the people who are coming to sell, that's part of their monthly income. And they are not going to be chased away by a $5 or $10 differential. And I think there's a real opportunity to make more money by a $10 round number outside, no discount for additional spaces. It's $10 a space, period, end of story. And inside, it's $15 a space.
I agree.
And there's, look, you know, I'm going back to my first economics course at Wharton, where I got an MBA 35 years ago. And I can tell you this price elasticity, we as the supplier of the space, we've got a lot of price elasticity because the buyer or the demand side has very little price sensitivity. If they've got to pay $50 for their spaces to have $500 in revenue, or $30 for their spaces to have $500 in revenue, that extra $20 in cost makes no never mind.
Right. I agree with you, Steve. Can we just jump back to the selling the tickets for the Hamfest? What, didn't we get the space for free before or not?
Yes, I believe we would get the entire space for free from the fire company
Okay,
in exchange for, I think we had to do like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We had to do like 3 nights. And back then, we could get people to come out during the week as well as on Saturday, which was like their biggest night. And, you know, they would work from, I think it was like 5 p.m. until 10 o'clock at night.
right.
And, you know, we had the manpower back then. You know, now we also had, you know, much more manpower during setup and the day of the Hamfest as well. Now, I kind of question how much manpower we're going to get, number one. And, you know, if I really don't see us being able to do like, you know, all 3 days. I would be amazed if we could get, you know, 4 to 6 people to come out on Saturday to help do the parking donations. But you know, we can try to you know get what we can get. You know, see what we can get.
If we offered to do one night, would they give us a discount or something like that?
Yeah,
Right.
if we would just do one night, I'm sure they would, you know, knock something off. What we paid this year was $700, and the reason they gave it to us for $700 was because we moved the date, and they knew that this would, be a bit of a problem, which it kind of was. The real price, I believe, is $1,200. I think they are okay with giving it to us for $1,000, but that's like the lowest price that we can get. It's like $1,000. But if we can get people to help out at the fair, then maybe they could knock us down to 700 or 800 or 700 or whatever, however many days we could help them, whatever that's worth to them. I don't know.
We
Yeah.
have 15 people show up.
Last year it was $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not speaking for everybody else, but I enjoyed selling tickets at the fair. I thought it was fun doing that. I mean, even if we have 4 or 5 people or 4 people, I mean, and we can get a discount, I think it's worth it. Even if, we do 3 days with 4 people. I mean, it's going to be a little hectic during certain spots, obviously, but I mean, I think we can do it, but.
But I don't think if I heard correctly, it's not going to involve selling tickets. It's just going to be collecting donations.
Yeah,
Right,
just
right,
parking donations.
Yeah, the same thing. I call it selling tickets, but you just take the donations.
The ticket selling, the ride ticket selling at fairs has changed. It's more like nowadays than it used to be. So.
Yeah, but it was enjoyable just getting there with a few of the guys and then, taking the donations. Some people give you $1, some people give you $30. It was just enjoyable talking to the people.
Yeah, it's fun. I would do it like one night. I wouldn't want to do 3.
I remember working the gate for that several years ago, and even back when we were working like the booths for selling tickets for the amusement park rides. Of course, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to sell tickets.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just my 2
Of course,
cents.
it helped that when I was doing it, my now unfortunately late girlfriend at the time was helping, and she was, shall we say, well endowed. So when she's bending over the window to talk to the people, the guys are getting like a nice look.
There you go.
That works. All right. So there was a point that I wanted to raise. I'll change the topic a little bit. In the weeks leading up to the Ham Fest, Bob was juggling quite a few different things at once. So I was trying to think about a few specific jobs that maybe could be farmed off. Now, I think, if Bob wants to be the Ham Fest chair, he could be, the buck stops here guy, right? Who kind of runs everything. But then if there's specific tasks that could be farmed out, like I know Rich, for example, has been doing the door prizes and doing a great job. Just take that and run with it. I mean, I'm willing to continue being the ARRL liaison. So contacting the ARRL leadership, getting us advertised, getting us authorized, all that stuff. A couple of other things. Finding the food truck turned out to be a pretty big job, but that's probably something that could be compartmentalized if we could find somebody willing to take that on. Getting QSL card checkers. I think that turns out to be a big pain in the butt, but maybe if there's someone who kind of knows a few of those people, maybe we can get that.
Isn't that something we should contact the ARRL liaison about?
I did. I contacted the section manager and he said, I have no idea who the card checkers are. So I don't know.
I very well may contact the ARRL just to see what's going on, because I'm still very miffed. I mean, I contacted 5 card checkers. I had the name of a 6th one, but he's not available. And I mean, they didn't even one of them returned my call but didn't leave a voicemail. The rest of them, they didn't even return my calls, and I specifically asked in each voicemail that I left that they would return my call, regardless of whether they could help or not. with the idea that, well, if they couldn't do it, maybe they would know someone who could, and I would be able to ask them. But, I didn't, I just got, no response whatsoever. Admittedly, I did it, probably way too late, but still, it would have been nice for them just to give me a return call. But, that I don't understand. And that's what I would like to, call the ARL about and see, what's going on with these card checkers, why they're so elitist, and why why they just don't even respond. I don't get it. But anyway, that's we good if somebody could get on the card checkers and stuff like that. Get a couple of them, interested maybe. And, because probably from year to year, if we get one person's probably not going to be able to be at our Hamfest for every single Hamfest, possibly. But, there ought to be somebody in the pool of card checkers, to come to our Hamfest. That's all I can say about card checkers.
So who in our club is very active with QSL cards? And I know most folks do like Logbook of the World.
Right.
So if there's someone who's actively with QSL cards, they might be a good contact.
Yeah, that's not me. And is card checking still, isn't that a dying thing with the Logbook of the World?
It is, but every year we get like one or two people. Is there going to be a card checker there?
Okay.
Yeah, I had to email a guy that to tell him, there would be no card checker because he emailed me a couple months or weeks prior, and just to see if there would be a card checker, because he was rather disappointed last year that he brought all of his cards to the Hamfest and there was no card checker. So
right. Okay.
I didn't want to have him be disappointed again this year.
So Bob, are there other jobs that you think could be farmed off? Because the one other thing I had here was the indoor tables. If you wanted to have somebody coordinate that even ahead of time, just talking to the indoor vendors. Because I know sometimes email is difficult for you. Because a lot of these requests would come in by email. Would it help to have somebody sort of intercept those?
Yeah, that would be good. The setup that we had, I was a little confused, I guess. The requests for tables went both to Dennis and myself, and I don't know, maybe to you or somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm on it. Yeah, we have a couple people on that Hamfest list, so it was a little confusing, like who responds to this.
Yeah, who responds exactly? Yeah, so
we might need to sort that out.
Yeah, if we could sort that out. And
that's what I was thinking. If we have one designated point of contact for indoor table reservations, that we just tell one person, those are yours.
Yeah.
If anyone asks about a table, you take care of it. And then, that person on the day of would coordinate with the indoor table people, because I know that is time consuming. Because if you're running off dealing with the sound system or parking or something like that, you get these, indoor can I move the table 3 feet this way? And can I get an electric outlet over here? And at what time can I do this? Somebody has to, take them by the hand. So if you had somebody else there who could just do the tables and nothing else, I don't know if that would be helpful for you.
Yeah, that could be a good idea. If once again, if we have the manpower to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were a couple people at the club table, right? So if we have one person, pull them away from there. And that could be a good job for someone who doesn't want to go outside and do parking. In fact, that could be the selling point. Either get your butt out there on the field and do parking or work with the tables.
Yeah, when I lived in Brooklyn for 23 years, we did a ton of TV and movie productions in the house. and they had all these people called production assistants who were tasked on the spot for things. Bob needs a production assistant. And when one person is off on a task, he needs the next production assistant to come up to him and be available for the next task. Probably only needs a couple of people on that day. Jay King and I tried to build the poles with the speakers and wire all that up. But we kept getting piecemeal information and being a little unclear and contradictory, and had to keep going to Bob for info. If Bob had a right-hand person who could have been one of the two people doing the work, you know.
Yeah. He did a good job with it, though.
Well,
No.
Jay lives in Kimberton.
Oh, really?
And he's active with Philadelphia Aries. I don't know what clubs he belongs to, but reaching out to him and saying, hey, thanks for your work at the Ham Fest. Are you a member of MARC? I'm trying to remember it's called WA2 AFE.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's a member.
So he's the sort of person who selling tickets or helping with parking at the fire department fair. For him, for me, it's an hour and 10-minute drive at 5 o'clock in the afternoon to get out there.
Yep. So, okay. Okay. I don't know how late we want to go with this, but
Yeah, I'm just looking at the time.
I've got about 6 other points of interest, you might say. So I don't know, maybe we could do it.
Yeah, let's
do a board meeting or something sometime or something. I don't know. I don't know.
I think you ought to speak them, and then without interruption, and not look to get input tonight, but with everybody hearing what you think are issues, then people can go away and the wheels turn.
Okay. All right. I'll try to run through it then. One of the issues that I heard was that like the tailgater parking, we had issues with the buyer parking. I guess when it first started, they first started, making rows for the buyers parking. So they actually needed a buyer's parking attendant. And I know from years back at Kimberton, we used to have buyer's parking attendants and also the tailgate parking attendants. And that kind of leads us into a little bit of the outside signs. I think if we had better outside signage, like Steve was saying, if we could redo our signs, to be more specific and easier to read. I think all of our signs are, they were made at least 10 years ago, probably 20. I don't know how long we've been doing Hamfest at the Kimberton site, but they were the original, the small signs or the original signs that we've used for, however long we've been at the Kimberton site. And they just need some help. I think they need to be a little more contrasting. little bit easier to read. So probably all of our signs could use a redo.
That's
Another
simple. We
issue
could
with
get them printed.
signs, what's that?
So that's pretty simple. We could just have them printed commercially. That's a
Right,
matter we could just approve at the board meeting.
right.
So anyway, what was it? Yeah, there was an issue this time about pounding stakes into the ground, and there's I was working on a way to have signs to be freestanding, which would probably work in all situations except high wind. But that's something that could also be addressed by the commercial signs. If they had the political signs, you know, with the wire frames, maybe that would just be the ticket for what we need. That would work better than doing freestanding signs with weighted bases. But anyway, the signs need worked on. We need an RF link for the remote PA speakers. The two speakers that we've been using for last year and this year seem to be of great help for the tailgate area. MARC WA3QVU also has another set of speakers that we can use. And there's another telephone pole right at the corner of the tailgate field on the opposite side of the driveway that we could use to put those speakers up, but there's no way to get a sound, you know, get a cable across the driveway. And also the cable that we use for the speakers that we use this year and last, it's very labor intensive to put the cable out there. And if we had an RF linked system somehow, that would, like, you know, kind of kill two birds with one stone. It would be, you know, easier to set up, and there'd be no cables or nothing to trip on or drive over or fiddle around with.
But you
And
need an amp, you need an amp and power for it.
yeah, we've been working on getting an amplifiers. They make amplifiers that run on 12 volts, the 70 volt line with 70 volt line transformers built into them. And so all you need is some kind of a receiver, radio link receiver, to patch into the amplifier, and, you know, way to hang all this equipment off the pole, and you know, battery and so forth, and you'd be in business. We looked at Wi-Fi this year, and there was a lot of problems with it, but I don't know. I think it needs to be revisited. And, you know, maybe Wi-Fi is not the answer, but you know, there's got to be a way to do this. You know, we are ham radio operators, so why can't we come up with some kind of an RF link? I don't know.
I don't think we can use amateur frequencies.
No, you'd have to
You'd
put
have to
some
use
kind of an ID in there. Not to mention the fact that ideally, I know in Hamfest Pass this year, the radio that we were using proved to be unreliable. But in Hamfest Past, we would always, you know, play softly play music from a radio station or something. So that would not work with amateur frequencies either. You wouldn't be allowed to play music.
Here's an idea. They sell those little, like, FM Part 15 transmitters, like you can use like in your car. Would one of those have enough range? Because then all you'd need is like a commercial FM receiver. It's like a regular radio over there at the receive site. Hook that into an amplifier and then feed the speaker. Then we just go on like 88.7 or something like that, some, you know, unused frequency.
Yeah.
I don't know if those would have enough range.
Yeah, it's an idea, but it's something that needs to be looked into. I'd like to look into it if I have the time. But
Yeah, so
anyway,
if you have a proposal, the board could vote on it if there's equipment to purchase.
okay. So anyway, we got the signs and let's see, PA RF link, and also another suggestion was put out was the fact that we no longer really have a main door prize of kind of any any sizable amount. Typically, this person was thinking of like a door prize that was worth in the $300 range, whether it be $300 cash or maybe a mobile rig that was worth about $300. I know KJI Electronics had a whole stack of Yaesu FT 6000s, which he was selling for $299. Would have made a nice door prize. Just I need to kick around the idea of a substantial main door prize. I realize it would once again cut into the bottom line, but just something to think about, revisit maybe. Let's see, talked about buyers parking. Okay, indoor vendors. We had a problem this year, which totally I was blindsided by, was the fact that the ceiling was closed up in the A building and all of the cord drops were done away with. And that means that all of the tables that are in the middle of the A building no longer have electric. And so I was kind of brainstorming, and I was thinking maybe if we could make some kind of like an 8-foot pole or something like that we could clamp to the table. One of the tables on the wall side that has electric, and then put some kind of a bridge or put a PVC pipe or something across that we could tie an extension cord to and drop it down into the adjacent table space area. We would need to have 4 of these. This is just an idea, but eventually, especially if it rains, and especially if we get increased interest in the indoor spaces, people are going to want electric, and all we need to do is get a hot, humid August Sunday, and everybody's going to be wanting their fans to be on and all this stuff. And so I was, we've got to figure a way to get electric into the tables areas that no longer have cable drops. I think that's pretty important. I think KJI Electronics was very pleased with our Hamfest, and they told me that next year they may want to come inside, and once again, I think it's just a matter of time that the inside eventually might fill up at some point, especially if it's bad weather, rains or something, and people are going to want electric in there. So a lot of people who are along the wall right now, that's where we're running out of wall space. If it's what I'm trying to get at, because the electric is at a premium at the moment. So we need to figure out how to get electric into the inside of the Hamfest tables. and you know, in some kind of way that's you know, easy to do and fast to set up and take down, and also safe, you know, so that people won't trip on it and stuff. So anyway, that's kind of pretty much what I was thinking. We also need to think of like in the handicapped areas, we need to think of how we can put more signs up. I think we need to increase the size of our handicap area because the food vendor takes part of it up. And I think a lot of people, you know, were parking along the building because, you know, they thought, you know, that it was closer and easier for them. But if we had a handicapped area, you know, on the paved part, that would free some of that space up and make it more accessible. But to do that, we can't put stakes into the blacktop, so we got to figure out a way to put signs out on the blacktop to you know, make a bigger handicap area. And I kind of had a design, but you know, I'm gonna need some plywood and stuff like that, some 2x4s and stuff. But anyway, just wanted to throw that out to get people thinking of how to do that. So, and we also need to make some cable paths. I think for the coax cable for the talk-in station, and also for the if we do have cable for the PA system. I know the cable that we had strung out for the PA system, the PA speakers that were on the pole, got run over at least 30 times. Fortunately, it was telephone drop wire that we had out there, so it probably will survive that. But if we continue to leave it out there and get run over 50 times every time we have a ham fest, it's going to fail on us one day, and that's going to be a problem. So anyway, those are some of my thoughts, and I guess if everybody would, you know, think on fixes for those issues, then maybe at some point we can get things, you know, a little more under control. So,
All right.
all I have.
Yeah, I think getting signs commercially printed, that may address a lot of these issues here. Yeah, I mean, bringing the electric to the middle tables, that sounds like a lot of work, setting up these poles and these things running across. I think part of what we want to do is reduce the amount of work just because of the limited manpower.
If I might, this is a ham fest. This is not a convention center. At convention centers, you pay extra for electric. Okay, we are selling table spaces. We are not supplying utilities. The fact that there are some electric spots, that's a bonus, and it's on a first come, first serve. So, you know, I don't think we want to really start handling electrical connections. We're not insured for that. We're not manpowered for that. And it's more equipment that we don't need to have for a once in a year use. Anybody that has an outdoor ham fest, those tables don't have power. You go up to Sellersville, you go into the cafeteria. The only people that have electric are the ones against the wall. They don't have receptacles in the middle of the cafeteria. So it's the same everywhere.
I mostly agree with Rich. The one thing that I think could be done differently is we could identify that there are 4 or 8 or how many ever outlets there are. And instead of charging $15 a table for those, we charge 25. I don't see any reason why we can't give people the choice to decide, do they want electric or not electric? And if they want electric, charge them for it.
Fair
You
enough.
know?
They certainly charge extra when you get electric at other places.
Right. And if we need to make $1,000 nut, every $25 counts. But otherwise, I totally agree with Rich. It's a ham fest. It's not a convention.
You know, we have very limited manpower. We really don't want to start taking on more expense and more problems. We want to reduce the manpower need and reduce the problems. I think signage will help. No parking here, unloading zone only. That'll keep the area clear. The cones are a good idea. You know, first come, first serve. If they plan ahead and they order early, yeah, they can plug in their cash register. They come at the last minute, gee, I'm sorry, we don't have any electric spots. You know, that's life in the big city.
We do have a board meeting in about 3 weeks, so we can discuss any issues in more detail. And if there's anything we want to purchase, that's something we can discuss. I think it's 3 weeks from today.
How about a convention center?
We go to the Philadelphia Convention Center, they charge you for everything.
Yeah, go to Oaks.
Yeah,
I don't think you're allowed to even plug things in yourself. You have to have a union
No,
person plug it in.
yes, you have to have a union person come and plug it in for you
Right,
after you've paid for the electric.
right.
so who's our union rep that we're gonna get to?
I-
We do have a certified electrician, but
Yeah,
I don't know if you're looking for an additional task.
Is he union or, I mean, we're in a very, very
Yeah.
iffy area now.
This is Philly, yeah, we gotta watch out.
yeah. Anyway, I think, Bob, you have some great suggestions, a lot of food for thought there. The one thing I really liked was the RF speakers. So that, I think that should be right at the top of our list. So
Yeah.
everything else, we'll give it some thought.
Bob, I want to thank you for everything you did. You did a hell of a job. I know how much effort goes into it. I know how much support you need, and I know how much support you get. So thank you for your efforts. It's not
Okay.
perfect, but it is what we have, and
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier each year, I think.
Yeah, well, I appreciate all the door prizes and stuff that you got together. That was great, and all the stuff you bring and all that stuff. You do really have a lot of stuff that is part of the Ham Fest that you bring along with you. So it's great, and thanks for everybody else's help. The Ham Fest, couldn't have gone off with only just one person running the show. It took all the hands of everybody who worked there. So thank you
Next
very
year,
much.
I want volunteers to help me bring it out of the basement and load the car.
Well,
All right. Should we bring the bus back to the station?
sounds good.
All right, so let's call this a wrap. So I thank everyone for attending the August 2022 meeting of the Mid-Atlantic Amateur Radio Club. I will see you next month. I'll see board members a little before that. And actually, I'll be talking to all of you on Wednesday night. I'll be running the net. So I will be seeing you all around. Thanks for attending.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.